For a while. When I was up there this morning, Sure. I'd like to send you this.
Oh, we switched.
He still is in the water.
For a month? This, yeah. On a month?
The actual.
Genius that
Let me show you how to.
You going?
Yeah, I feel like I
I travel next.
a lot to be.
I got it.
Why not?
No, I should be here. I'll be here for Tuesday.
Well, I haven't decided. I don't think him any.
No, thanks. Yeah,
That's just how.
good,
We
right.
then at the last summer.
I'm getting.
I'm a three wire electrician.
They invade Iran.
Three wires to make
It says miss in the back.
Well,
Oh, mine is.
more than half. He's there.
Pete's educated. There's a problem.
I know.
I'm there.
Right.
Yeah, he's been on anyway.
Rules, it's not a problem, as long as you follow the rules.
So someone's wife decides it's my wife. There was, well, they started one, the Christian music question. And then, anyway.
Must be painful.
Oh, I really know what it is. Yeah, I can just tell.
We started.
All of them. And
Is it in the resolution?
sure.
It's the winter.
No.
What's that?
So it's,
Is it?
did you know that?
Yeah. Oh, Dave,
Yeah.
you get the memo.
When it's above 32, they gotta wear short.
Suppose it's like a trap.
Of course. You got that?
Right, tropical.
16.
I believe you have Excel on your computer.
I have a calculator on my phone. I'm not changing it. Sometimes when I do that, then it changes it on all of us.
It'd be a lot.
4, I mean, 12?
Someone can do it.
12 is,
It's gonna be a lot.
12.
Oh, 2, not 3/4.
or is it 3?
Spend too much time outside, huh?
Well, I have 6 o'clock. I would like to call the county board meeting to order. Please stand and join me in a pledge of allegiance in a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The roll call shows we have 16 supervisors present, so we do have a quorum. First item would be approval of the agenda. I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Couple more moves?
Shall second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? If not, then we'll call the vote to approve the agenda. Okay, the agenda is approved. Next item is the members of public wishing to be heard. The call, you can come up. We will allow 5 minutes of discussion. And first is Wade Asher.
Hello, and thank you for giving me the chance to speak tonight. For those who don't know me, I'm Wade Asher. I'm the general manager and promoter of Chippewa Valley Music Festivals. I'm here regarding agenda item 8-3 and 4. First, I want to thank Andy Alvarado and the executive committee for bringing these items to the full board for your approval. For agenda item 8-4, as it relates to the large assembly change, one of the biggest motivations here was to establish peak times and off-peak times, along with making sure the sheriff's department had max numbers to go by, but could also reduce the numbers if they see the demand is not relevant to the festival atmosphere. So I think overall we came to a mutual agreeable revision, and I'm good the way it's written up. Agenda item 8-3, as it relates to waiving the music festival charges, just a recap to why these charges were contested. One is for force fields, the sheriff's department overstaffed according to the ordinance and my recommendation. The second part to be waived is for the difference of time and a half and double time for Rockfest only. As many of you remember, back in April board meeting, I stood up here and talked about the double time for private events for the union contracts. At that time, I had argued being charged double time difference, but inevitably I understood that it had to be passed with the union negotiations. Now fast forward to today, that's still my stance. I don't feel it's fair to use me, the festivals, as a leverage point to benefit the county union's contracts that are between the county and the union. When I don't have an option, I was not asked or had any say. I was just told, you must pay this now. In the April meeting, Kurt had said that it was only going to cost me $6,000 to $7,000. As you can see, it's double, as I had predicted. Now this year, it will be at least triple that. We simply cannot take these increased costs again. On top, where does it stop? Is it triple time next time or some extra charges? So I'm asking you to vote to give the sheriff the power to not charge me double time difference in our contracts and for the future events. Here are the points I would like you to consider. One, most other counties give festivals free officer support or reduce the number of officers required to have on site because of what they bring into the county. Hodag, that is just down the street, gets free officers. Other festivals that I book for get free officers, and I could go on. Number two, the county subsidized private entities' businesses, including the county fair, every year in the tune of $50,000. On top of that, they are only required to have 2 officers when we have to have over 20 for the same population. Do me a favor and please ask yourself, why is it okay and safe that this is still, when it's still a mass gathering? Number 3, last year we paid over $1.2 million in sales tax, and we brought another $5.5 million in economic sales tax. 4, in 2026, between the 4 festivals, we will be contributing 50 to 60% or $100 million to all economic impact in Chippewa, 50 to 60%. 5, we already pay far more than any other festivals in the state. And if this continues, we will risk the same outcome seen elsewhere, events shutting down. For example, this year, Harley-Davidson Festival in Wisconsin will not be coming back in 26. Live Nation, the largest promoter in the nation, now discontinued its last country music festival. It had. In addition, we do amazing things for this great county. We did Farm Tech Days on our grounds free of charge for the economic impact for the county. We put on large fundraisers, again, free of charge with no expenses, to the benefit of things like Kids with Cancer and other organizations. We're always doing things for the right reasons. When I heard that the Sheriff's Department was requesting a new command trailer from you, I learned that it would rarely be used outside our grounds, so I offered to personally build them a permanent building on our property if they paid for the materials. So a building that would cost $20,000 to $40,000 in materials instead of roughly $300,000. I did this to save the taxpayers money and because it's the right thing to do. In closing, I'm asking the county to subsidize, I'm not asking the county to subsidize me like they do other businesses, including the fair. I'm simply asking to stop taking advantage of me and do the right thing like we do. Thank you again for letting me speak, and I look forward to continuing to do my part in the community with your assistance. If you have any questions, don't be hesitant to call me. Thank you.
Thank you, Wade. Next, we have Jeff Bobby.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Bovey. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. I'm the owner of Bowl and Prue Plumbing here in Chippewa Falls. My business is in Chippewa County. I employ people who live in Chippewa County, and like many business owners, have my success directly tied to Chippewa County. I want to talk to you about our local music festivals and their importance to the local economy. For a business like mine, these festivals are important. For Chippewa County, these events are essential. They bring more people into town, which means more customers, more work, more money staying right here in our community. Especially for the nonprofits, the residents, and the small groups that rely on these music festivals for fundraising for their charities. I have in fact worked for several of them at the festival, and I know the benefit that these people are getting. Public safety is important, and I appreciate the work that the officers do to keep the event safe and running. I am trying to understand the current policy of charging music festivals double time for required law enforcement coverage of these events. This policy seems unfair when other events don't have to do the same or have the same amount of people at them. I'm asking that you take another look at the policy and work towards a more balanced approach, one that supports public safety while also supporting the events that help make our community the great community that it is. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Next, we have Pete Roth.
Good evening. My name is Pete Roth. I'm the security manager for Chippewa Valley Music Festival. I appreciate the opportunity tonight to speak regarding agenda item 8.3 and the issue of double pay for law enforcement services. We understand and respect the county's responsibility to ensure public safety. Our concern is simple, that the festival did not have input into the increased cost, yet we expect to absorb the full financial impact. To provide some context, I'd like to briefly explain the steps our security team takes preparing for each festival. Safety is something we take very seriously. We strive to work in partnership with the county in that effort. This year, our management team completed 16 hours of FEMA training, focusing on large gatherings and sporting events, the same training undertaken by Chippewa County personnel. We have also participated in mass casualty, active shooter, and other emergency response training. In addition, we have installed over 70 cameras on site, including systems with facial recognition and license plate reading capabilities. These tools assist with locating lost children, identifying individuals that may have restraining orders involving performers, and supporting overall situation awareness. We also allow the county to upload individuals they are actively searching into our system as another measure to help keep festival grounds safe. There are additional security measures in place, but I'll be mindful of your time. With that in mind, we are hopeful for consistency in how large events are evaluated. For example, other events in the county, such as the Northern Wisconsin State Fair, operate under different guidelines, despite being longer in duration and drawing significant attendance. And they also receive county support. We would appreciate an opportunity to better understand these differences. The festival has a significant positive impact on the county with an estimated $100 million in economic impact, roughly 50 to 60% of the county's annual economic impact. Our goal is to ensure that rising costs do not unintentionally threaten an event that benefits our broader community. We are respectfully asking the county to consider a more flexible approach to law enforcement staffing costs, including not applying double pay automatically and allowing licensed private security personnel to count towards the ordinance staffing where appropriate. Hold on, I'll get her open here in a minute. There we go. Finally, we would welcome greater transparency in the billing process. Receiving a detailed officer log during the festival would provide a helpful check and balance system. Since the county and festival already meet most mornings to review the prior day, that meeting could be an effective time to share this information. Currently, invoicings arrive several months after the festival, which makes verification challenging. Thank you for your time, your consideration, and your continual partnership, keeping the community safe.
Thank you. Jackie Hullab.
Was there number 3? Was there a Craig on there, number 3?
Oh, sorry, I missed, yeah, sorry. Thank you. Craig Brenner. My apologies.
Hello, everyone. My name is Craig Brenner. I'm representing Darren Sen tonight. He wasn't able to make it. He apologizes. I think that the biggest thing that I would bring up is that Chippewa Valley Music Festivals makes up about 50 to 60% of the total economic impact of the county, totaling $100 million. We have spent thousands of dollars every year on several security systems to ensure our attendees' safety. We aren't asking for incentives or handouts. We're simply asking you to treat us like a business that has brought the kind of impact to the county that we have. 4 blocks down from the courthouse, the Northern Wisconsin State Fair hosts 25,000 people a day, which clearly meets the requirements for a large assembly. Yet you require them nothing for the officers and charge them nothing for EMS. In fact, we understand that the county actually gives the fair money every year. We are simply asking to be treated fairly, nothing more, nothing less. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Now Jackie Hullab.
Members of the County Board, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Jackie Hullab. I am here regarding Agenda Item 8.3 and being charged double time now and in the future when we already pay more than our fair share. Pardon me. I've been a part of these festivals since day one. You all know the jobs that we provide, the economic impact that we give to the community, or the sales tax that we provide to the county. But I would like to address something that I've noticed over the years that often gets dismissed as simply entertainment, but is actually something much, much deeper. Right now, we live in a world that feels increasingly divided. We are separated by politics, income, culture, screens, and sometimes just the fear of one another. It can feel like we have fewer and fewer spaces where people from different backgrounds and cultures can come together to simply be human beings. Our music festivals are one of those rare places. When people gather at our festivals, they don't arrive as political parties, social media platforms, or labels. They arrive as fans, as neighbors, as families, as strangers who quickly stop feeling strangers at all. You see people of different ages, races, beliefs, and income levels standing side by side, dancing, singing, laughing, and looking out for one another. For a few days, the walls that we build in our everyday lives come down. Music has a unique power to heal. It speaks to emotion before argument. It connects us before we even realize that we're connected. At festivals, people help each other when someone is overwhelmed. They share water, shade, stories, and moments. They listen, not just to the music, but to each other. Our local music festivals don't just bring joy, they bring belonging. They create shared moments. They give people a sense that they're part of something larger. In a time when loneliness, isolation, and mental health are at historic highs. And beyond the emotional impact, these festivals support local artists, small businesses, hospitality workers, and over 150 nonprofits. They bring people into our county who leave with a positive impression of who we are, not just as a place on the map, but as a community with heart. In a divided world, we should be protecting and encouraging the things that bring us together. Music festivals do exactly that. I urge you to see these events not as disruptions, but as investments. Investments in unity, mental well-being, local culture, and community pride. Because when the music plays, people remember something simple and very powerful, that we are better together. I thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. And last on the list, we have Jamie Leto. Got the name somewhere close.
Leto.
Leto?
That's okay, everybody mispronounces it.
Just once.
Right. Good evening, board members and public of Chippewa County. Thank you for my opportunity to speak. My name is Jamie Leto, and I reside at 3080 55th Avenue, Elk Mound, Wisconsin. I'm here tonight to address some critical issues that need to be brought to light to both the board and the public. All this is brought into question for the most beneficial and fair governance and protections that should be afforded to every natural person that resides in Chippewa County. But our governance is in strong question and should be brought under strong scrutiny by all the public of Chippewa County. On July 20th, 2024, my property was burglarized. This included extensive damage and loss of property and also a violation of my inherent and inalienable rights. My house, garage, pole shed, and my property were under attack that night, and ultimately my peace, safety, and privacy were violated as well as my private property rights and used for illegal gains. I was incarcerated at this time and had a power of attorney agent taking care of all of my affairs along with my property. She also lost her peace, safety, and privacy through all of this as well. She had to fear for her safety now every time she went to check on my property. She had no privacy offered due to this invasion. She's also my fiance, so that adds another level of involvement into all of this. I will not and cannot condone this for her, as she was placed in a dual role of responsibility and placed in a very precarious disadvantage and placed in danger every time she went to inspect my property. On September 20th, 2024, we were also victims of an illegal trespass as well as another trespass on my property on 22nd of September. That was directed to be legal through the official duty of a deputy involved. That exact same night, my mailbox was blown off the stand with explosives 2 or 3 hours prior to the trespass. I have verifiable proof that these actions of trespass were illegal, and the deputy fails to contact me personally to answer to that fact. Beautiful 13.66 acres with a house pretty much tucked back off of 55th Avenue and all wooded surround. Privacy is why I purchased this property, to raise both my daughters on this property, to enjoy privacy and freedom of this land and the property. I've lived there for 23 years, 2 months total, as I'm speaking tonight. I never had an issue like this before because I do and always will defend my property. If I was present during any of this, things would have gone very differently. There was no investigation that was properly done or conducted into any of these actions by the Sheriff's Department. They have and still are unable to allow me to seek due process of law to have any charges brought against any of the criminals that participated in the crimes that occurred on my property. Nor has another request been honored to have another deputy dispatched to my property as of last week Friday to report other crimes against me and my property. The Sheriff's Department is in violation of the state open records request law for failing to answer and fulfill 2 separate requests that I have submitted legally. I have these here tonight to enter into the record of the county board. I demand that the county board order the release of all requested information contained in these requests. If not, I will force to be filed the proper documents to force the release of these documents. And all communications will be brought to the attention of the Department of Justice and their Attorney General's office as well. All files, emails, personal notes of any department in this county that have my name, address, social security number, or any other markings identifiable as relating to me are protected for further action in these matters by myself. I also encourage the county board to inform any of the county offices that I can get all open records requests honored through legal application, and I do fully understand that some information might be protected and not released if labeled as protected, confidential, or legal description otherwise stating. But a written denial shall be offered according to law. Also, one of the board members that represents my district has failed to answer 2 emails about speaking here tonight, so I don't know the proper rules. I didn't know if my conduct would be unbecoming. I see this as a failure of their official duty through improper representation, communication, and accountability to a public person. This displays a complete and utter void of transparency that this county promotes through its official website, and that's the main statement that our sheriff continues to spread throughout this county. But where is the transparency in my case? There is none. I have not brought any formal complaints to the sheriff's department due to a direct conflict of interest that the county board and corporate counsel or the sheriff have created, either past or present. So all my complaints will be going to the Department of Justice for review. When one individual occupies the dual role of chief deputy as the management supervisor under the sheriff's duty due to the vote of no confidence of our sheriff and the complaint examiner, it undermines and corrupts the complaint process as he has a personal and financial gain to dismiss any complaints to protect all the sheriff's department employees and such. I demand that the county board and corporate counsel have this person recuse themselves from this position of complaint examiner immediately, and believe that the public of the county should be offered opinions in this matter before changes are made to how the duties should be handled. I demand that all dismissed complaints from the inception of this person being assigned into this role up until the recusal be forwarded to the Department of Justice for review. I also demand that this board have all this information given to the ethics board for a full review as well. I believe there might be other violations of individual rights that have been violated through a biased dismissal.
We have our 5 minutes now, please.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Who do I give these to? Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to item 6, our consent agenda. I look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Later, so moves.
About seconds.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Question, discussion? Not, we'll call the vote. Consent agenda is approved. Item 7, reports. Department reports, monthly statements of claims filed.
As you look in your, excuse me, in your packet, you'll see there was one new claim since our last meeting. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Corporation Counsel.
Okay. Item B is CIP project update, 2023 through 2026. Leah?
All right, I will go over the 2023 to 2026 CIP projects and where they stand as of January 26th, I believe. So this will be the same format that has been presented to you in the past. Here's some history about the implementation of the CIP policy. June is when the county board approves the CIP projects by resolution for the following year. So this June, you will be approving the CIP projects for 2027. Capital projects do have a cost of $50,000 or more and have a useful life of 3 years, or will extend the life of an existing asset. This slide will just show the sales tax funding and the bond funds utilization for the last 3 budget cycles. Here's just an example of how the next few slides will look. So here we have the final 2 projects for 2023. Both projects did come in under budget, and the remaining dollars will go back to the sales tax fund. So all the 2023 projects have now been completed. And the next 2 slides are going to be the 2024 CIP projects. All the 2024 projects have been completed, except for the Human Services remodel. That project is on hold at this time. We are going to reevaluate that project as we have new team members now on staff. So we are going to go and look at that one again now. And then here's the last 2024 CIP project, the radio equipment replacement project. This one has now been completed. The total cost of this project was actually $134,978. We did receive the $100,000 from the Van Orden grant in March. Therefore, that remaining balance of the $32,000 there will go back into sales tax fund. We have the 2025 projects. The first project there, the county morgue, that project is on hold as we are now able to utilize the Chippewa Valley Cooperative Hospital, formerly St. John's again. The building automation system project has been completed, and those remaining dollars will go back into the sales tax fund. The Sheriff's Department hallways, paintings, and flooring project is also on hold. Because this one's on hold as they also have a remodel project coming up in 2026, we're going to see if we can do those together so we don't have to redo any work. Okay, some more 2025. For the highway projects that are still in progress, we are just waiting on some final invoices for those. If there are any overages, they will be using their fund balance. And then the last item on there that's still in progress is the IT replacement, end user devices and data center, where I was waiting on some final invoices on that one as well. And if there are any overages, they would be using fund balance for that one as well. And this is the last of the 2025 projects. That first project has been completed, the county forest land acquisition, as there was no actual project for that one. So one has been completed. Next are the 2026 projects. Since we are in February, not a lot of progress has been made at this time on these projects, so they are all in progress. Some more. And the final project. So the next steps, the department heads have received the CIP forms for the 2027 budget cycle, and we'll be bringing those to the policy committees by mid-March if they haven't already. And then a new recommended plan for the 2027 budget will be presented in June by the county administrator. Any comments, questions?
Any questions for Leah? Thank you. Move on to item 8, our business items. First item, Resolution 3-26, resolution to support sustainable transportation funding.
Resolution number 0326, resolution to support sustainable transportation funding. Now therefore be it resolved that the Chippewa County Board of Supervisors strongly urges the Governor of Wisconsin and the state legislature to enact a comprehensive sustainable transportation funding solution that, 1, provides adequate and reliable revenue growth for the efficient long-term planning and execution of state and local transportation programs, and 2, includes responsible and prudent use of the general purpose revenue and bonding, and 3, adjusts any new and existing transportation user fees and other revenue mechanisms to sustain purchasing power in order to maintain and improve Wisconsin's transportation infrastructure, and 4, ensure transportation continues to deliver for Wisconsin by adequately funding reconstruction, preservation, and safety investments on the state and local systems. Be it further resolved that the county clerk is hereby directed to transmit a copy of this resolution to the governor's office, all members of the Wisconsin State Senate and Assembly representing districts within Chippewa County, and the Wisconsin Counties Association. Forwarded to the county board by the Highway Committee.
Entertain a motion to approve.
Whitmire moves.
Later seconds.
You have a motion and a second to approve. Some discussion? You have any questions for Chris?
Good evening. Yeah, this is just basically a blanket resolution that all the counties are being asked to pass through their boards and get it to the governor and the legislator. Just so that we're showing solidarity in our funding shortfalls and our transportation system, so. I guess that's about all I really have on it.
Supervisor Guth.
Thank you. I think you answered my question already. I was wondering if there was any certain bill or bills that we need to be paying attention to. You said it was kind of a more blanket kind of statement, so policy-wise overall, but anything specific we should be looking at?
Not as of yet. This isn't really picking any specific method to fund us. It's basically telling them they need to find something that's going to work.
Okay.
So,
thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Any more questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
I got one real quick. Since you're up there and we're talking about transportation and the highways real quick, is there anything we could do with Highway 53 right now?
That's not ours.
Oh, it isn't?
Nope.
Because it's under construction?
Well, it's the state of Wisconsin's. So, I mean, it belongs to them. Any work we do, we're under contract with them, and we're under contract for maintenance.
Sorry, we'll keep the discussion on to the resolution that we have here right now.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Just keep on turn.
Well, I think I lost my teeth.
Okay. Any more questions on the resolution here specifically? If not, then we'll call the vote. Resolution is passed.
Thank you.
Item 2, Resolution 4-26. Resolution to approve governance agreement for the Western Region Recovery and Wellness Consortium.
Resolution 4-26. Now therefore be it resolved that the Chippewa County Board of Supervisors does hereby approve the proposed updated WRRWC governance agreement, and be it further resolved that the Director of the Chippewa County Department of Human Services is authorized to sign the updated WRRWC governance agreement and take any other actions necessary to effectuate the intent of the agreement. Forwarded to the County Board by the Executive Committee.
Look for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Goodman will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Brady?
Good afternoon. This is a resolution to approve an updated governance agreement for the Western Region Recovery and Wellness Consortium. That's the WRWC or the RWC. Chippewa County is the lead county agency of a 9-member consortium which facilitates CCS programming, that Comprehensive Community Services, which is a federally funded program that provides services related to mental health, substance abuse for individuals who qualify for Medicaid. As stated in the statement of explanation, the original governance agreement was signed back in 2014. Technically had an expiration date of a year, so it's been a decade since the original agreement was signed. The original agreement was tailored more to the startup of the RWC rather than ongoing operations. There was outdated language about a DHS contract that was necessary in the beginning just to get it up and running. But there are a number of gaps in the current agreement that would be beneficial to address. For Chippewa County specifically, as the lead county agency, we do have more liability if there is vagueness in the contract. So this updated governance agreement would clarify that there is a distribution of liability and what that looks like between the member counties, as well as what a dispute resolution process would look like, which I believe is necessary for Chippewa County as the lead county agency. The other counties have reviewed the proposed governance agreement, and it has been approved by other counties. So as soon as Chippewa County has permission to sign and effectuate the agreement, then the new agreement will be sent out and signed by the other member counties. It should be noted that it is a 9-member county consortium currently, but 2 counties, Pierce and Polk County, did send their letter of intent to withdraw from the RWC. I did have a meeting with them and told them that I still intended that they would sign this updated governance agreement for 2026. Their letter of intent to withdraw, they would leave the RWC at the end of 2026, so they would still be under a governance agreement with us for that period. That's not something, we wouldn't want 2 different contracts for different counties operating. So I did tell them that it would be my preference for them to sign the updated agreement, and I didn't hear any objection from them, so that would be the intent.
Any questions? Supervisor Kuzmin.
Thank you. Thank you for that explanation. Are you able to tell us any rationale why Pierce and Polk are not participating?
Just to be general, I would say that they wanted to have more authority, despite not being the lead county agency, without taking on the responsibilities of being a lead county agency. So.
Okay. And then as a follow-up, and this may get a little too much in the weeds, and I apologize if this is moving beyond the resolution, but I didn't see much information in there in regard to administrative costs. So can you assure me that we as Chippewa County, with being the lead, we're covering all of the administrative costs that are required by taking on such a leadership role?
Sure. Since most, if not all, of our funding for the RWC is through Medicaid, so it's federally funded. So the staff members that are paid by the county are able to be reimbursed for their hours, and most of the RWC employees are 100% by the federal government.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Gehrig.
I have 2 questions. The first is, what would happen to this organization, this consortium, if Chippewa County does not take the lead?
If Chippewa County filed our intention to withdraw as the lead county agency, then per the contract, there'd be a certain period of time that we would remain, and then there'd be a vote amongst the counties about who the new lead county agency was, if anyone wanted to step up and do it. I'm not sure if, quite frankly, if any of the counties would. So it would be a bit of uncharted territory at that point.
My second question is, because Chippewa County is the lead in this, do we bear any more liability than any of the other counties?
I would say under our current contract, there is a fear of that because it's not explicitly laid out on how liability is distributed. That was really, in my mind, the biggest change that needed to go into the updated agreement. So that is in the new governance agreement. It does talk about how liability will be distributed among the counties. Like for example, there's a potential lawsuit from an individual receiving services in Dunn County. Under our current agreement, there's really not anything that says what would happen if a Dunn County resident successfully sued the RWC. It's just, it's silent. Under the new agreement, it specifies that Dunn County would be responsible for that because theoretically, if the RWC didn't exist, that's a Dunn County resident, and they would be the one on the hook for that. So that is why this governance agreement, in my mind, is very necessary, is to clarify how liability is distributed.
So when is this new governance agreement supposed to be signed and enacted?
As soon as we get the go-ahead from county board, it'll be distributed to the counties for signature.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions or comments? Okay. Seeing none, we will call the vote on the resolution. Okay, the resolution's passed, 15-1. On item 3, Resolution 5-26, resolution to waive invoice charges to Chippewa Valley Music Festival for law enforcement services performed in 2025.
I'll make the motion.
We need to read the resolution first. Sorry, just procedure.
Resolution number 5-26, resolution to waive invoice charges to Chippewa Valley Musical Festival for law enforcement services performed in 2025. Now therefore be resolved that $13,168.31 of the amount invoiced by the Chippewa County Sheriff's Office to Chippewa Valley Musical Festivals for 2025 law enforcement services provided at Rockfest be waived. And be it further resolved that $16,163.09 of the amount invoiced by Chippewa County Sheriff's Office to Chippewa Valley Music Festivals for law enforcement services provided at the 2025 force fields be waived as tentatively proposed to CVMF as a compromise and recommended to the Executive Committee by the County Administrator. And be it further resolved that funding for the waived fee shall come from the County General Fund. And be it further resolved, this action by the county board is limited to law enforcement services provided in 2025 only and shall not be precedent setting. Forwarded to the county board by the executive committee.
Yep, I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions? Ask of Andy. Okay, well,
I'll wait.
yes.
I won't offer much more. I think the statement of explanation and the resolution are fairly self-explanatory as far as the proposal to waive the fees. Funds come out of the general fund. These are costs we've already incurred to pay the deputies that have performed the services. So that's why we need to, rather than having them paid by the outside entity, have the general fund cover that cost.
Gehrig.
So you answered part of my question, the fact that it's going to be coming from the general fund. Are you in favor of that?
I think that we have, I mean, that's the only real place we can take it from. We don't have any other pots of money, but we do need to replace, if the fees are waived, we need to replace that in the sheriff's budget with other revenue. There's no available funds in their budget to cover this expense. That's why we have to move money from the general fund.
Thank you.
Supervisor Erickson.
Yeah, if my memory serves me correctly, when we talked about this way back, I remember us batting around the figure of like $6,000 to $8,000 is what it was going to cost them. And that's just a point that the way I remember, and I'd appreciate anybody correcting me on that. The other question I have is, who's responsible for the invoicing to them? Is that the sheriff's department?
Yes.
Well, going 6-8 months or whatever it was, 3-4 months or even that, without a bill, and then to get hit with something that's a double. And then little clarification on the, on the invoicing. I mean, that's gotta somehow get rectified in the future. I just can't figure out why that should take that long, especially when it means money coming into us. So, and then the other question is, with the Northern Wisconsin State Fair, you talked about attendance of 25,000 daily. Does anybody here know what the average attendance daily is at one of the, like the Country Fest or Rock Fest?
I think that number would be, I mean, they provide a number to the sheriff's department that chief deputy could talk about, or I would ask the festival themselves what the attendance is.
What they have to speak on it? I had a few other questions. I just wanted to know that attendance number.
The attendance number for which one?
Well, I guess either one, Rock Fest or Country Fest, as far as daily, be what you'd call the daily attendance.
The Country Fest was, I believe, off the top of my head, right around the 15,000, and Rock Fest was right around a little over 16,000. What is what we were informed that we were to be staffed at.
And then with Northern Wisconsin State Fair, we said that we have 3 sheriff's officers there?
City police, that's their jurisdiction.
Okay, so we don't have any?
No.
Okay, so that's a city thing that however they bill it. Yeah, I thought they said we had county officers there.
There might be some reserves up there. We might have some county people up there to assist in other things, but that's not typically our staff. We don't staff that. If the city is short, the city's gone through a tremendous staffing shortage like we have, we may have assisted them at times to have officers up there.
But we don't bill them.
It would be the city would be reimbursing us. We would still send them a bill, but it would be from the city. I don't believe we get a bill or any payment from the state fair.
And then the EMS for Wisconsin State Fair is obviously provided by the city, correct?
That I don't know who covers theirs. We really don't have anything to do with the city.
We don't do anything to license or deal with the state fair since they're in the city of Chippewa Falls. That's all.
So we don't have any officers there. We don't have anything to do with that. And then at Country Fest and Rock Fest, who does the EMS up there?
That's contracted out. Wade could probably, is it two different places? Is it Safer and?
Yeah, Safer and Mosedy.
Yeah, Mosedy. And they're their primary ones. They have had in the past, I think Cadot has filled some voids for them, I believe.
Boyd.
Yeah.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Supervisor Stedlich?
First of all, I just want to thank Andy and Todd and the Sheriff's Department because, you know, they had to deal with a lot on that, especially for me because I'm pretty adamant about this large ordinance getting resolved. I guess I just got a question for Andy. Is there a way of discussing with the whole committee about this time and a half versus double time for future contracts? I mean, because I foresee it being a problem for some years to come, and my opinion on it, I don't think it's fair that they're paying double time over time and a half. So, I mean, is there, when we come to the ordinance, is that a place we can be discussing it, or should we be discussing this right now?
I'll try to answer that and ask Corp Counsel to jump in if he feels the need. The ordinance really isn't the place, because if you read through the ordinance, it doesn't talk about rates or contracting or contract details. It just says that when they apply for the large assembly permit, they have to have a contract with law enforcement for providing the peace officer services that are in there. So the county has a contract with Chippewa Valley Music Festivals. It's a multi-year contract. I believe it's 24 to 28. Or, yep. And so in the contract is where it talks about that. If I got it here, I can give you the exact wording. But in the contract is where it details the costs that will be reimbursed. In there, it has a section on compensation that the sheriff's office will be reimbursed hour for personnel providing law enforcement services. The rate of reimbursement will be based on the actual salary and fringe benefits, excluding health insurance on overtime hours. For assigned personnel, taking into account overtime rates of pay and collective bargaining agreements. So that's where the double time and a half come into effect, because the bargaining agreement we have with the PPA, the sheriff's union, now states that for non-government contracts, the rate of pay for overtime shall be double time.
And that's, where I fear that, this contract was signed in 24, the union contract was signed in 25, and, they signed that in good faith, and now we're, charging them like it's going to be an extra, let's face it, $50,000 this year on law enforcement, and this is obviously a multi-million-dollar company that brings in tax dollars, keep mom and pop restaurants open. We got to try to, I love the long-term contracts. I think it works great for the festival, works good for, the county, but somehow, it's hard for them to sign a contract when we're having that sticking point, that double time versus time and a half. I don't know what your solution was. Would it be or Todd's solution that the committee can talk about it in a whole?
Yeah, well, two things, and I'll let the chair. The resolution might be, the resolution to amend might be a better time to discuss this, if at all. This resolution is just dealing with waiving the cost for 25. I understand your concerns. We've discussed those. So I don't want to venture too far off of the current action on the floor to waive the cost. But I think right now the counties, like from an administrative standpoint, I would see our job when we enter into a contract is to recover the costs that we're expending for these events. And so that's right now what we're doing. If the board wants us to take some other approach, I mean, effectively what you're doing is the same thing we're doing with this resolution, is that if we're only going to bill at time and a half but pay out double time, we're going to have to replace those funds from elsewhere, which would be levy dollars, which creates a budget issue.
And I'm just wondering where the resolution would be on that. Is this something that we'd have to bring back as the contract back to try to waive it for future years? Or is it something that we do at this point in time for that double time? I mean, I know it's a fine line and nobody really has a definite answer, but it's a little bit of confusion.
I don't know when the right time is. I mean, I think it's going to take some sort of board action to do that, though, to give us the direction to do that, either to only bill the time and a half, and then how to replace those funds, or to direct us on how to renegotiate the contract. Typically, the contract is a operational activity, so we don't typically bring those contracts to the board. Because we're just, as long as the contract is within the scope of what our ordinances and policies are, which they have been. So if we're gonna change that, it would have to be, again, a board direction to do that. I don't know if Corp Counsel wants to help me out here.
I don't really have anything further to add, but it is an administrative function. Day to day, we have contracts that we go through administrative review. So, and that's been set by board that's a administrative function. So if the board wants to change its policy on how we administer day-to-day contracts and bring contracts, I wouldn't advise it, but it's up to the board to decide.
But then, even though it'll be a different article when we get to the ordinance, I think it's got to be clarified more in the ordinance, which we're going to have a better discussion on the ordinance, because you're saying that you're following the ordinance, and when it comes to writing the contract, but the way the ordinance is wrote, when we get to it, they're going to be charged double time.
You got to understand too, these are negotiated contracts. So it isn't necessarily the county imposing and saying you have to accept this.
Yeah, but then they can't have the festival. That's the problem if they don't accept it. I mean, and then we lose, $100 million worth of people coming into the county. I mean, that's, if you look at it, I'm not in the room when you guys are doing contracts, and we weren't in the room when you guys were setting the union contracts. We were just presented with, sign, pass this, or it's gonna be a big snag, but we're not in the room with it, and I'm afraid that Rockfest, Country Fest, EDM Festival needs to sign this contract in the next month or so, and they're going to have to sign it at double time, and it's going to be for a 4-year thing. I mean, it's kind of vague. I mean, I could pass somebody else or some other people on here, but that's what I fear. And
I would say on the other end that when this most recent contract was negotiated as well, they're usually negotiated, the terms that are chosen are so that it accounts for changes in costs, right? So that from the county's perspective, if you're just throwing out a number, that isn't necessarily taking into account, if it's a 4-year contract, you need to be able to have something general language so that it takes into account those increases. We wouldn't be serving the county well if we necessarily just agreed to a specific dollar amount, because costs are going to increase. The next contract for WPPA may include an increase in their wages. That's happened before. under the contracts we've had with the music festival, yet there wasn't any outcry then.
I just think, it's a big expense when you go from one and a paid double time to time and a half. And I'm just saying, we throw away money on feasibility studies that we don't even know if the thing's gonna happen, and we'll throw $70,000 at that, but we can't throw $50,000 on this extra halftime or whatever. That's where I'm gonna leave it at and let somebody else have the floor.
Yeah, and I'll just add one more thing. I mean, I understand the dilemma. Part of the difficulty is that with union contracts, those are confidential negotiations. We can't be conferring with outside entities while we're in negotiations. We have rules that we have to follow. We can't consult with, everybody that it could potentially affect.
And I understand that, but now it's time to mend the wrong that happened there, and we can make things right. And our police department, our sheriff department, they can still get the wage they want. We just might have to have some skin in the game.
Supervisor Guzman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of things. One is I just want to name the tension that we are all experiencing in regard to, we have fiscal responsibilities as supervisors to the taxpayers, and in addition to the wonderful support that comes from the economic impact from tourism from the festival. So I just want to name that tension. It's a very difficult decision. But I also want to name that we have Sheriff's Department, police officers that are on the festival grounds, and that work is not easy. They deal with challenges that I have some idea of, and I think part of the tension that we are also all feeling is that the reason that we went to the double time payment is because there is difficulty in recruitment to staff the festivals. And we know that we also are struggling with workforce, and so I just want to name that as well. I do have one question that would help me, and I don't know if there would be anybody from the Sheriff's Department or if Andy can speak to this. I'm just kind of wondering if somebody could just share what a typical day is like, or an afternoon or an evening when they're on duty.
I will definitely defer since we have firsthand account.
Sorry, you're looking for a typical day up there?
Is there such? Just share your responsibilities, maybe.
The responsibility starting off in the morning. Really in the morning, it's for the most part, it's kind of a morgue up there until about 10 o'clock because they really don't get up and moving around. So we staff that substantially lower than what the ordinance says. If we follow the ordinance, we'd have basically about 16 people up there driving around when everybody's sleeping. And we realize that, and that's part of the reason how we got here was we realized that and we wanted to change the ordinance to make it make sense. They started getting up around 10 o'clock. They start drinking about 10:01, and then it goes on from there. And really it starts to turn into kind of a beehive right around the 3 o'clock time frame, 3, 4 o'clock. A lot of it depends on the temperature. If it's chillier out, the bees stay inside. If it's really hot and sunny and warm, they tend to be more active. Picks up pretty good around the 8, 9, 10 o'clock when it starts getting dark out. That's when the concert starts to fill up pretty thick up there. We're definitely outnumbered. There's no doubt about it. I just want to throw one thing out there to put it into context, and I've already had this conversation with, forgive me, I forget his name from that you're here representing. Is it Dennis? Dennis. I had the conversation with him because we had meetings prior to this, and he brought up the fact that the fairgrounds has 25,000 people up there. It's not equivalent. We're not comparing apples to apples. Those people are driving home. They know they're driving home. A lot of those people up there are kids. A lot of them are adults and they're allowed to drink up there, but there's that check in place where they know they have to get home somehow. Up there, they're living there for 4 days. And when you're at home, you tend to drink more. And they do. So we're not comparing apples apples to apples when we're talking about that. It's very difficult to send, if you have a problem, it's not TV. I want to make that very clear that a lot of people get their impression about what we do off of Hollywood, and it's not that way. You don't send 4 people to a fight in the middle of a crowd of 3,000 people. It's all hands on deck. And when we do that, because you got to control the crowd, you got to keep them back, you got to let the officers do their job. Sometimes they get called away from that, and you start off with 20 people up there controlling a large fight, and those people start to get pulled off in other directions because you have to. So to make it a typical day, I'm sorry, I can't really answer that effectively.
And then just a follow-up, what if we can't recruit enough people, even at double time, to staff the music festival?
Well, we're forced to go out as it is right now, and I have the numbers. I can at least give you a rough idea of what we did for, let's see, for Forest Fields, Barron County picked up 64 hours, Dunn County picked up 35, Eau Claire picked up 16. For Hoofbeat, Barron picked up 56, Dunn picked up 9. And for Rockfest, Eau Claire picked up 12, Dunn County picked up 9, and Chippewa Falls PD picked up 24. So we're starting to reach out to these other agencies because we don't have the people up there, which in my mind is extremely dangerous. The Brewers have done this for years. They recruit all over the state. Anybody come down that works for them because they'll plop somebody down in front of the third baseline and say, look up at the crowd. That's their assignment. If you've ever been up there, it's a city up there. We just can't take somebody in from Dunn County that's never been there before and say, have fun, let's go patrol this area, because they're patrolling a city. There's, just on the south side alone, it starts at A and goes to Z. There's 26 rows. There's 3 avenues. There's 160 campsites on most rows. And the north side is similar. So if something, especially in the dark, it's not like there's, people know where they're at when they're up there. You don't want to take somebody brand new, throw them up there to a city and say, enforce. They don't know where they're at. You get separated in crowds, and it's dangerous. And we'd rather have our people do it because we feel we're very thankful about the people that come up there to help out, but we limit them on what they can do because they're not like all the other officers that have been up there for years.
Thank you.
Supervisor Bergeron?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a number of kind of thoughts and questions that are really more towards the ordinance. I'll save those for when we get onto the agenda item about the ordinance itself. Speaking to this specific one about the waiving of the fees, I supported this at the executive committee, and I support this tonight because, we put a business and a long-term partnership in a situation where months before their event was going to happen, and they had an understanding where they were going to be charged Y, and we charged them X. Now, I still think it was the correct decision to approve the union contract and to support our officers in that recruitment element to get them up there, because I do want it to be our people working those events. I think that's appropriate and that's important. So I still agree with that move. But this really was a late in the game, for a size of operation they have, near impossible to pivot and make it budget adjustments because of that move. So I do think it's right for 2025 that we do step up and right that wrong from last year. Thank you.
Supervisor Shoebridge?
Yeah. I have no problem with negotiating wages go up and down, business. And I thank you guys for bringing this to us now. However, this, plus some of the other complaints we had about the sheriffs not having the flexibility to make some of the decisions to lower those costs, they should have with the ordinance going through. And I made those recommendations that this and those ordinances be brought back when those pay raises were done initially. I submitted several times for it to be brought to the board so we could have this discussion back then. But I was told it was not going to come to the board. Okay, so now we have it now. We've ruined the relationship, not ruined, but we've hurt relationships. Public opinion is down. Now there's newspaper articles on this. These kind of things need to come to the board because we're all responsible. Our people are calling us. So something this important, this big of an impact on our community is important, and so yes, I want to pass this, but I also want to pass a total review of the ordinances. Give the sheriffs the power they need to make wise decisions, to keep that cost down low the best they can. Deputy just said he had to go against the ordinance to lower the cost. He shouldn't have to do that. That ordinance should give him that power to make wise decisions that we pay him to do. You know, but I know, because what I was told, that will not come to this committee. Okay, we need to get that to this committee so that we can make these changes and not hurt any more relationships. So yes, I love that this is here. I wish we would have talked about this months ago. But I also suggest we need to take the ordinances under review here. Thank you.
Supervisor Lotz.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. It was that the bargaining thing happened in the middle of the season last year for the music festivals. So I don't think that they should be charged for 2025 for that. And I just want to answer maybe a question for Joel, Supervisor Seidlitz. That bargaining stuff had to do with union versus non-union. So
Supervisor Lotz, please speak to the general board.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You can speak, just speak to the board here.
I guess that's all I had.
You can address the issue you want, but just speak to the board. All
Okay, I'll chat with him after.
right, thank you. Supervisor Camping.
I want to start by just saying I totally agree with that we should make this right for the festival, but also with the bargaining rights, whereas everybody, we didn't know half the stuff that was going on here as a board. I wonder, did the festival know about all the double time and everything when all the bargaining rights is? I mean, when you guys are bargaining, you guys say he can negotiate, but were you guys notified on all this, or did you have the rights to bargain on any of this stuff, or was it just brought to us when we passed and just passed it? Or is there a way that we can go back to where they can negotiate, where they know what's going on? Just for the future.
I believe the bargaining you're talking about was the union bargaining, right?
Yeah.
That's where bargaining came, and that's where core counsel and bargained with the union. We're never involved with that. That's not something we're involved with.
Right. Were they?
I think.
Did they have the opportunity? They know what was going on?
That's
the contract.
Yeah, Corp Counsel is saying when we're bargaining with the union, we really have some parameters we have to work within. So we aren't going to involve outside entities. I mean, and the contract is not specific to Chippewa Valley Music Festival. It's, compensation or the overtime of the contract. It differentiates between government contracts and non-government contracts. So it applies to any contracts that the Sheriff's Department enters into for staffing.
So as far as the festival, they have no real bargaining rights at all with any of this stuff. They just got to pay whatever they have to pay.
Well, I mean, I think it was brought up before. We have a contract with the union that sets their compensation and overtime and work environment and all those things. And then we have a contract with the Chippewa Valley Music Festivals. We have a contract with One Fest to provide them county services, which the majority of is law enforcement, but it also covers any work the highway department does or other agencies. So there is bargain, and I think was brought up before that based on the ordinance, the law enforcement, the only law enforcement that has jurisdiction is the Sheriff's Department. So they have to have a contract with us to provide the minimum requirements that are outlined in the ordinance. Does that answer your question?
Some of it, not really, but.
Okay. And I should say that's
The patrol officers that get the double time, or is it even just?
just the union members.
Just union members?
Yes, so that would be generally our deputies or patrol officers.
So, I mean, how can we fix this for the future so it's not an every year thing? Because this, like they were saying, this was supposed to come back to us this fall, summer, and it never did.
Yeah, I don't.
But I can respond to the request to have it this summer. What I tried to explain before is we sat down with Wade at least a couple of times, and we all agreed to wait until after the festivals. We were going to gather more information from them, so we had more information to take into to address this. So there was agreement between both sides that we would gather information throughout these festivals and then address it after the festivals. So that was not the intention to bring it during the summer until we had all that new information, so we knew the ordinance had to be revamped.
So this is our fix on this. How are we going to fix it for next year?
Well, that's, at the moment, that's the attempt with what's coming up next. And I do believe there's still some issues that haven't been addressed.
If I could just maybe address the timeline too. Some of that was laid out in the statement of explanation. So the invoice did go out later than I think we normally have, or we would have hoped. It does originate with the sheriff's department, and if the sheriff wants to concur or disagree with me, he can. But we went back and forth, the sheriff and I, along with on what to bill for, because they knew they had billed for more hours. They knew that there was going to be some concern on the rate of pay, and so just that discussion and back and forth. And ultimately, we told the sheriff just to go ahead and bill for what you did. And I anticipated we'd probably end up in this process where we'd bill the music festival, anticipated that they were going to dispute charges. We met, we went through them, kind of offered up the compromise, gave him time to think about that, then checked in to see where he was at with that. He said that he had had some communication with some board members, and he paid everything that was not in dispute right away. But then this disputed amount kind of had to work its way to the committee and then to get to here. So that's kind of the process. And along the way, we talked about the ordinance in general, and I brought to the executive committee some of what you're going to have on the next item on the agenda with fixing or amending the ordinance. And actually, in my view, I brought forward some bigger changes to the ordinance. But just from a time-sensitive standpoint, we know that we expect the force fields application to be in pretty quick, so we're from a timing standpoint, the only amendment to the ordinance you'll see next was the most time sensitive, but the goal here is to overhaul the whole ordinance.
Supervisor Flater?
I think.
Well,
No, I was canceling myself.
it's canceled, that's why he's ready.
Okay, so I understand there was, Andy, trying to negotiate a compromise on this. Any business that's in business today, even more, you don't know what your costs are gonna be, next month. Everything is going up. They don't know what they're gonna pay for their venues. They build that in. I don't think we should be worrying about what's gonna be happening. We did our negotiations, and that, when they entered the contract, there's no guarantee of what the costs are gonna be from our department. Because those costs are not in there. It says cost, correct? Yes. So, and the issue, one of the reasons that we agreed to that double time was because of keeping the people staffed and to keep our department, to get people in, because it got to the point where they were told nobody could sign up for vacation in those weeks. So if I can go to work for another county next door and I'm not locked out of 3 weeks of possible vacation time. So those are things there that at this point, as a business, you see that this is where we're gonna be. I mean, this is here, yes, hindsight, that, whether it was late in this thing, they knew it was coming, but how it was gonna fare out. But I just feel that we should not, we can't be in the business of subsidizing. And again, the fair, that is again, totally different thing. And the other thing now, are they required by the ordinance that it has to be our sheriff's department?
Chippewa Valley Music Festivals? Doesn't say that per se, but they are the only law enforcement agency that has.
Correct, but they can do like, some of the other outfits hire some security company or.
The way our ordinance reads, it requires peace officers, which is a statutory definition, which where they're located, it would only be the sheriff's department.
Okay, but the 13,168 there, that is the difference on that, on the double time?
Yeah. That's the difference between time and a half and double time.
Okay. That's the questions I have.
Supervisor Greg.
So just a couple of things. First of all, I worked many of those festivals from a law enforcement standard. And it is not a picnic. When things are good, they're really good. When things turn sour, it's really sour. But the point here today is strictly the money. And my feelings on it is, whether it's justifiable or not, our general fund is not a bottomless pit. And I'm concerned about dipping into it this time or the next time or any time, because it's not always gonna be there. So that's my concern, and the ordinance can be dealt with in the future. Thank you.
Okay, any more questions on this one? And since this is redirecting general fund money, been advised the vote on this has to be 2/3. It needs to be 2/3 in favor since it's affecting redirection of funds, is that right? It's budget, yes. Okay, if there are no more questions, we will take the vote on this. So it meets the 2/3 requirement, so it is approved. Item 4, ordinance 1-26. Ordinance to amend Chapter 14, Article 3 of the Chippewa County Code of Ordinances regarding large assemblies. First reading.
All right, it's me. So I think some of this has already been previewed, but in the course of working through the invoicing issues and just getting input from the sheriff's department, music festivals, as well as my own observations, it's clear that we were not following the ordinance when we were staffing law enforcement. The prior ordinance, or the current ordinance, I guess, is very static, where it says you have this many people, you have this many peace officers and security guards. I think to effectively reduce the number of hours that law enforcement and security were working out there, they were taking a more reasonable approach, and staffing when it was busy, and not so much at 10 in the morning when it's a ghost town out there. So, like I had mentioned when we had this discussion at the executive committee, put out there the idea of amending or overhauling the whole ordinance. I have some ideas there where the large assembly ordinance, this is, I know corporate council knows this, but if you were to go open up the ordinance books in a lot of other counties, you're going to see a very similar ordinance, because 30, 40 years ago, everybody adopted the same code of ordinance. It probably works okay for one-off large assembly or every couple of years. But, in the case of what we have in Chippewa County, Chippewa Valley Music Festivals have been around for almost 40 years. We're probably past the point of it being a pop-up large assembly, and I think we can do better with our ordinance just from a procedure standpoint. And obviously, a lot of what's out there is permanent structures at this point. So, but that's going to take a little more work and a little more input from a variety of parties to make that overhaul. So in the interim, we just focused on the security personnel staffing, a little bit better definition of peace officers and what security personnel is. And then in section 1466-8, broke it down a little bit more to provide flexibility and more of a reality to law enforcement and peace officers and security personnel, so that there's a minimum staffing level for all assemblies that are 1,000 people. And then for any assembly that has camping, that's kind of the baseline. So the 8 in the morning, the 4 in the morning is based on what the occupancy or use of the campground is, so many personnel per site. And then for the primary assembly, and I think if you envision Rockfest, Country Fest, as events start to happen in the primary assembly, when the side stages start having bands or there's rodeo or whatever, people start to filter in. And so that allows the ratio of staffing to be tied to scheduled events. What's on the schedule for today, as people start to come out, the number of security guards and peace officers goes up with that. So that's 8, 1, 2, 3, and 4, or excuse me, 1, 2, and 3 kind of cover that. Again, didn't really change the ratios, just the flexibility and growing it as the event starts to get busy. And it's different for non-alcohol or alcoholic events. 4 gives the sheriff's department some discretion as they staff these events based on historical data, what's going on, their experience, as well as communication with the event, who's putting on the event. And then, let's make sure I covered it all. Doesn't change, sheriff has the ability to approve their security personnel. The cost of security personnel should be the responsibility of the licensee. Then it also adds in an appeal. So if there's a dispute, like there is this year, that the event, the licensee has the ability to appeal, subject to the language that's in their contract services. I think that covers the amendments as proposed to the ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one quick clarifying question about the appeal. It would follow a similar procedure as it did this year, where it would run through the executive committee, which is essentially the finance committee, and then to the full board. That would be a decision made by the board.
Correct.
Okay. And then in terms of it's really difficult to separate out the concept of Chippewa Valley Music Festival and the large assembly ordinance. But I think it's important that we do so, because that large assembly ordinance really encompasses a whole lot of unknown and a whole lot of different type of events. It's purely about a population, and it's about the needing to make sure that is sanctioned and safe and all the things. Where I'm kind of going with this is, I am in no means saying that every administrative contract should have to come before the board and be voted on and looked at. I just think this is so unique in its nature. We don't know what in 2026 or 2027 what group, what event, what organization might come and want to apply for something like this. We might want to charge the next group more. We don't know. We don't know what their requirements would be, what that would present to our community. We may want to charge them less. And just in reality, 3 months, we're going to have a different board. In 2 years and 3 months, we're going to have a different board. I think in this really unique scenario, there should be some sort of mechanism where, each time a contract is up or a new contract is being negotiated and finalized, that I think it would be highly appropriate to come before, whether it be legal and law committee, because this is really a function of the sheriff's department, or whether it be executive committee because it's the finance committee, and then move to the full board. I really think there should be some room for some flexibility and kind of that higher level negotiation with different entities that might apply for this. And I think that might solve one, everyone feeling like their voice is heard on what the rates are charged. I don't think it's a good idea to put a hard set rate anywhere, because this could vary so greatly in what it looks like. And then 2, it would, we heard someone talking about the lack of transparency and how this is executed. If you put it on a public meeting, that completely alleviates all this conversation about, not being transparent. So I don't know how, if this is the correct place to work in language to, for these particular contracts to come to elected officials for review and approval and edit if necessary, because obviously budgets will have to be changed if the contract negotiated is not, seen as acceptable by the board. I don't know if it'd be in this ordinance or if it's something within kind of policy rules and something legal and law in the sheriff's department that they would have to update some sort of policy and rules or what, but I don't, it's kind of out of left field, but would you have any input on where we could potentially have something like that, have this cut out as a one-off so that there is that review when contracts are reviewed and signed?
Oh, I'll bring up that too. Yeah, I think just two things. The overhaul with the ordinance, one of the things that we did propose, I'll just say it's looking at the Chippewa Music Festival more as a grounds license rather than an event approval. In that case, that would come to the board for approval to license them as a grounds for multiple years at a time. Because I think the reality is, to touch on that, is that we discussed Chippewa Music Festivals has most of their tickets sold already for the upcoming event year by the time we're getting around to approving their large assembly permit. So that puts the clerk in a bad spot if she was wanting to not accept their application. So that's one of the changes we're looking at so we can avoid some of these issues. I guess if Corp Council look at this, but if you wanted to approve the contract for law enforcement services for events only, 1468, item 25 could insert contract approved by the board.
The section for application for licenses contents, that would be the,
Yeah, section 25 is an approved and signed contract with the county that addresses the security services.
that would create a new sub, like sub D underneath it at the bottom, or what it would be. I mean, as a whole, is what we have here is a big improvement on what we previously had. I thank everyone for the hard work on this, and this is an improvement. And at the executive committee, it was, echoed by the operators of the music festival that this was better than what we had. It all comes down to this kind of governmental transparency and having a real negotiation, because for a lack of a better way to put it, we have a monopoly on this. And that's not to say that I want to open it up, because I think it should be our men and women from our sheriff's department providing that security. But I do agree there could be a higher level of transparency and more, and by doing that, it would open up more of a real negotiation for both sides. So it would be like a sub D, or would it be put under one of the numerical subs?
I think there was a placeholder put under 1467B.
1467?
B8, at least for this meeting.
That was just the appeal, that was the addition.
Oh, that's.
No, we're talking about reviewing of contracts for the services provided that would require services through the large assembly.
This is just a quick look without having to dig through the ordinance. I don't know if there's a better spot. 1468, 25 says an approved and signed contract with the county. Could say an approved and signed contract approved by the county board that addresses the security services provided by the county during the event.
It wouldn't be pending approval of county board or, because I mean, the county's still executing the contract. It needs kind of an approval step, or would you just go right into all our service?
That's the contract. We have a multi-year contract with them now. This is all the county services.
County board, 28. So it would basically be an amendment to sub 25 and insert the word board behind county in that line.
Yes.
I can make a motion to amend in section 14-68 sub A sub 25 and have it read an approved and signed contract with the county board being the amended word in there that addresses the security services and all other services provided by the county during the event.
The contract still with the county. Approved by the.
What was that?
Signed contract with the county board.
The board should be the only amended word we
Contract.
need.
Well, the contract. is
Approved
with
and
the
signed
county.
contract by the county board.
Yes,
Yeah.
The contract's with the county, not the county board.
that'd be my motion.
Approves it.
You need a second?
Point of order.
Go ahead.
Aren't amendments for the second reading only?
You can make an amendment during,
First reading as well?
at the first reading, it's just that the final vote can't happen until the second.
Thank you.
Would you like the clerk to read?
Sure. Well, I need a second.
Well, just to make sure.
So it's a motion to amend 14-68A25 to change it to approved by the county board. An approved and signed contract with the county that addresses.
Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Nope, I didn't see who.
Kempe will second.
We have a motion and a second for the amended.
Do you want me to read it again? So the motion to amend is motion to amend 14-68A25, so it reads an approved and signed contract with the county, approved by the county board that addresses the security services and all other services provided by the county during the event.
Okay. That's the motion on the floor is to make. Any discussion on the motion?
So, I'm not in the queue, but I have a question about this point.
Yes.
So you're adding another entity to the negotiations. Who has the final say? The board? Is that your intention?
Yeah, the board would approve the final contract. There'd be a vote to approve.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood.
Yeah. I'm not sure, there's no language that the county board has to be in the negotiation or anything, but the county board does need to approve the finalized contract.
Well, isn't that what the amendment says?
Yeah. That's what the amendment says.
Okay,
No. I'm just clarifying, it doesn't necessarily say the county board will be part of the negotiation. Don't have to be, but we have to approve it in the end.
oh, all
You
right.
know? So negotiation could be like it is now outside, but it's brought to the county board before the county before it's approved by the county.
Okay.
Just a clarification, you know. Anybody else speaking on this one, not on the amendment? Yes, go ahead.
So for additional clarification, if this comes to the county board for additional negotiation, and let's say we have a situation, is it my understanding correct that if we would have to dip into the general fund or what have you because of some conflict or what have you, that would all be discussed out in the county board then to make any kind of recommendation?
I think that would be my understanding.
Yeah, okay.
I
So
think my
financial
understanding.
implications, one way or another,
Yeah.
would be discussed then,
Yes.
because we've got it now
It'd be-
worded as such in this amendment.
It'd be clear if we decided to move funds around.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
I think essentially what this does, it takes almost the same negotiating we have now, but brings it up into the public before it's actually,
Yep.
before that contract actually signed.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions on the
Well,
amendment?
that necessarily wouldn't, that we agree to that contract, but then after the bill's out, that they still contest the bill, then,
Well, that procedure still exists.
right, then it's still gotta come back, be back to the same place we're at now.
Yeah.
Right.
But it gives us one more set of public view on what the contract was signed for. Okay, any more questions or comments on the amendment then, before we take the vote? Okay, I will call the vote to, well,
No.
Type if.
oh, sorry, all right. I can still call the vote, we just can't vote on it yet until it.
One.
Thank you. Thank you. And we're voting on just the amendment.
Just the amendment.
Okay, the amendment is approved, unanimous. And we revert back to discussion on the ordinance. Have a number.
Yep,
Still
so
there.
they are not there, but I wrote them down. So the next one was Supervisor
Okay, Supervisor Schubert,
The ratios in the, where are they from? Where do you get those numbers from?
I brought them from the last ordinance, or the current ordinance.
Okay.
Where they came from originally, I couldn't tell you, to be honest with you.
All right, and then, boy, I had another one. Go ahead, if I remember it, I'll ask.
Supervisor Guth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So my understanding is that it's on projected numbers, and that's fine. I think that's really helpful when there's advanced ticket sales. Is there any concern that all of a sudden this really great person that's performing and then there's a whole swarm of people coming and it's outside of what the sheriff's department has discussed and the board has approved? Like, what kind of flexibility will there be for the sheriff's department should there be a surge? And maybe it's not even an entertainer. Maybe it's that we have, God forbid, any type of a weather event or something that all of a sudden we need even more than all hands on deck. Do we need any language about that? And I'm just posing this as,
I mean, the ordinance doesn't prohibit that. I mean, two things. One is the sheriff's department can take whatever action they need to staff an event. I mean, if we, doesn't matter where it is or what's happening, even if we don't have a contract, the sheriff could decide to have 20 deputies go in. I think, though, the ordinance gives them flexibility to staff up based on the attendance.
okay.
They've worked with most of the festivals in the past, so they kind of know the trajectory of ticket sales. And I think Chippewa Valley Music Festival will tell you that they have a pretty good projection of attendance 60 days out, and there's going to be a small amount of variance based on whether it rains or not. And the number generally is only going to go down. And that's, I'm just using, he's nodding his head. So that's what he's explained to us in the past. It's happened in the past.
Thank you.
Yep.
Supervisor Peterson.
Just a question on the jurisdiction and changing it to from cities, villages, and to towns. Obviously, this is part of why jam and the fair aren't regulated by us. What would keep the town from passing an ordinance that said $5,000 for a permit and the county's out?
That's a great question.
They could do that if they wanted to have their own ordinance. Yeah.
Okay, Supervisor Sedlitz.
Yeah, I kind of lost my thought, but it's been a lot going on now. But so when you guys negotiate the contract, you bring it back to us. We can do subtle changes to the contract when it comes back to the county board. Once that contract's done, if there's a dispute, I'm just saying, voting on that contract, would it be a 2/3 vote or would it just have to be a majority vote? Because it could be financial impact, like what we just voted on.
I would say if it does affect general fund, just like the last issue we dealt with, then yeah, it depends on what we're voting over.
So even to, when the contract comes in front of us, if we were voting on something to do with funds, it would have to be a 2/3.
General fund, because you're changing the budget.
Yep. Just wanted a clarification on that.
Okay, Supervisor Schubert.
As we go into the discussion of this, I keep hearing different things. How come this event has nothing and this? Can you give us a list of the main events and how they are categorized to this so that we can understand some of this as we talk to people on it?
Again, I mean, I can give you the general answer. The Corp Council can as well. I mean, the reason we can regulate large assemblies is based in state statute. You know, statutes grant us that authority, but it does not grant us that authority in incorporated communities that already have their own. Statute limits us, and like Chippewa Falls has their own ordinance, so our ordinance has no effect in Chippewa.
So for those of us who don't know all the ins and outs of the festivals here, so for example, have a list, the air show. How are they regulated for this? Is it part of us or not? The Boy Scout stuff, how are they regulated? Because we keep going in circles about how come this person.
It's strictly based on jurisdiction, just so we can say it.
Just jurisdiction.
The air show's probably City of Eau Claire.
City of Eau Claire. Country Jam is City of Eau Claire. Anything at the state fairgrounds is City of Chippewa Falls. So it's not, has nothing to do with the who or it's the where.
It's purely the where.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, any more discussion? Tonight's not a voting night, it's first reading. Okay, thank you, good discussion. Oh,
Andy,
Oh.
on the jurisdiction, is that the same way with townships? Is that why you changed it? Because the state statute says that? Is that why you updated it? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
As far as Gary, did you have?
No.
I saw them, okay. Okay. Thank you. On to item 5, ordinance 2-26, ordinance to amend chapter 62, article 3, division 2 of the Chippewa County Code of Ordinances regarding recycling. First reading.
Are you done with ordinances yet? This, here to present changes to the recycling ordinance that the Land Conservation Forest Management Department oversees. The major impetus to these changes was the state changed the statutes that this ordinance was based upon, and so therefore we have been directed by the state to update our local ordinances to reflect those changes. The major change in here from the state is there was verification or making sure all the definitions matched what they were enforcing. And then there was one addition of a new recyclable material that was added to the list in the definitions. The second major change is our old ordinance had multifamily residents and commercial businesses all in one section enforcing the like, and the new statute separates them out. When you do that, when you cut and paste and move around with track changes, you see a lot of red in here. And that brought up some confusion at our committee meeting. A question was asked about some enforcement portion, and we couldn't answer it at that time because it was even difficult for us who administer this ordinance to say, yeah, well, I'm pretty sure it's in here, but I can't tell you at this point. So we did go back and look at it, and the question was, in the multifamily dwellings, we have crossed out, if you go to 6287C, third-party use at the bottom of that. The old one talked about what the tenants were responsible for, and we couldn't find where it said that in the new ordinance. The state statute took that out and switched it to what the landlord is responsible for. And so it is in there, it just reversed the verbiage. So we did confirm that one of the things was in the definition of what is recyclable. In the old ordinance, it said what the tenants were recyclable for were the things that weren't easily thrown out in your recycling bin on the curb. So the tenants are responsible for lead acid batteries, major appliances, waste oil, yard waste, and then at the very bottom, waste tires. That is the same from the old ordinance, it's just said very differently in the new ordinance. The one oversight, because an additional definition for recyclable materials was added, and Brady can talk to this if you have questions on it. We had 5 through 15 was listed for what the landlord needed to include in recycling. It really is 5 through 14. And so he highlighted that in several spots. If you wanted to expound upon that if they have questions. So those were the two questions that came up at Land Conservation Committee. I did, the one who brought the question up is our citizen member who is on the committee and is not here at County Board, but I did discuss with them and they were fine with the change. We also did, we have to have this reviewed by DNR, and Renee reached out to DNR and they were fine with the change that we made. So, questions on that?
Any questions on this exciting stuff? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll move on to ordinance 3-26, ordinance to amend section 80-1 of the Chippewa County Code of Ordinances regarding adoption of the Chippewa County Comprehensive Plan.
Now it's getting exciting.
I just want to let you all know that I am the winner. I have the biggest packet, or part of the packet, so I think that's all I need to say. I'm going to make this really brief because I don't think you want me to sit down and go through all 364 pages, which it's back and front, so there's a lot of pages there. So if you want a real good adrenaline push, read this tonight, and you'll stay up all night. Every so often, we need to redo our comprehensive plan, and that's where we're at. We're a couple years past the last plan that we've adopted, which was back in 2010. That got us through 2020, and we kind of stalled a little bit until 2025. And now we're at the crossroads of getting this through the county board and getting approval on it. This time around, there's a little bit different process that we're working with. So tonight is the first reading. February 23rd, a couple weeks out, we're going to do a public hearing on this. And then back on March 10th, I'll be back in front of you to answer any questions or concerns that you may have about the comp plan. I think it's really important to understand that this comp plan is just a vision. That's all it is. It sets up goals and priorities and strategies and objectives for us at the county level, as well as maybe from the local municipalities and the towns as well. But nowhere in this document is it an ordinance except for what you see in front of you. The county board will adopt this by ordinance, but in fact, it doesn't set up any regulations. Regulations have to come back through the applicable committees and have to be adopted in order for us to enforce this ordinance itself. So while in the beginning we tried our best to get public participation with focus groups, we met with the towns, we met with other committees here at the county level, builders, realtors, all types of organizations in order to get to the point where we're at tonight. Now, you can probably pick this up and you can find the needle in the haystack that you're like, I really don't agree with this, but you got to look at it in its totality. There's 9 elements that we have to address through the state statutes, and that's what we've done. I won't go through all the elements, but it's they're all there. We did this in coordination with West Central Wisconsin Regional Plan Commission. They helped carry the ball for us for a lot of this. The Planning and Zoning Committee, thank you for your patience through all those meetings. I think I saw some of your eyes cross a little bit, and you probably saw mine as well. But, we did it, right? The last time we did this, like I said, was in 2010. And as I look around this room, I think there was only 2 of us, maybe 3 of us that were here. That's Todd. Todd, were you here in 2010? Myself and Tracy. So we've made it this far. Number 2 plan down. But every once in a while, we will pull this plan out and take a look at it. But once again, it doesn't set up any regulations. It's just that vision. It's like you having, at this point in time, thinking, well, the weather's nice now, but 2 weeks ago, I really want to go on vacation in March. You think about it, you set up your goals, your strategies, where you're going to go, and all of a sudden March comes around and you're like, I'm still here. That's right, because you didn't purchase the ticket, you didn't adopt the ordinance, you didn't do what you needed to do, but there's still public participation that would be involved in this plan, like I mentioned before. It's just, someone's got to put this together. They like zoning, so we're the ones that get it. Probably because there's a lot of issues within here that are zoning conflict. Back in the day, just to give you an idea, in '99 when they adopted the comp plan regulations, there's 19 criteria. If you met this criteria, you had to have a comp plan. Now it's whittled down to 6. And those 6 are zoning ordinances, whether it's a municipality, a town, or a county, shoreland zoning, wetland zoning, and if you have a city mapping. So those are really the only things that we're really concentrating on right now within this ordinance. And those are the big ones, right? Land use is huge, and it causes a lot of conflict out there. But this has, all joking aside, the plan has a lot of great data in here. We used a lot of resources to put this together. And hopefully, if you have some time on your hands, you'll read all 364 pages before next couple of weeks out here and have lots of good questions for me. So with that, I'll take any questions that you may have.
Yes, Supervisor Romero.
Doug, where can is this on our website?
It is. We didn't, so the link, there is a statement of explanation that's included in this, and that it is on the link, but it's on our website, the Planning and Zoning website, underneath Comprehensive Planning 2025. You'll see it. The link is there. Don't print it out. It's going to cost you an arm and a leg. So,
thank you.
Yep.
Supervisor Guthman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Doug, with the comprehensive plan, during committee meetings, are there references at times to these different sections? Has that been a practice that we've done? Could we do it better? I think one of the challenges that I see a lot of times with strategic planning included, as well as comprehensive planning, is that we do it, right? And then we kind of put it on the shelf and we forget to bring it forth, especially as we're working through various things. So I'm just wondering what your experience has been and what do you foresee, and how could we maybe continue to use this plan maybe better?
Great question. And yes and no. I think from what I've seen, 10 years is a long time to go in between looking at the plan and kind of updating it. But I also think there should be some mechanism where we can pick it up and take a look at it. But really, you're looking at economic development, looking at land use, implementation, as well as intergovernmental cooperation. I think those are the big ones that really we need to focus on and try to figure out how to incorporate those in on maybe a 3-year or a 4-year cycle, or try to take every 5 years and take a look at 2 or 3 of these and redo them at that point in time, so that when we get to year 10, so we're at 26 right now, so 36, and if you're trying to add it up real quick, that's a long time out. So I think if we did it like at a 3 or a 4-year process to take a look at these, we may be able to be more in tune to that, use it as a document that it's meant to be. From a county perspective, it's just hard to put this document into the hands and try to drive development, because we are dealing with so many different entities out here. The towns, the municipalities, we all like to not be told what to do. That goes with government as well. When we're working with the intergovernmental cooperation is going to be huge in years. And I think we need to try to figure out how to make that work, but also not overstep our boundaries as well for each of us. But we're not going to survive. I told the committee this. Government as a whole, we need to figure out how to work together, because I don't think the next 10, 15 years is going to really change. And I think these documents are going to help us out. They're going to get us that way, but we need to not put it on the shelf. We don't put it on the shelf anymore, right? We put it in a hard drive somewhere, stored. It doesn't collect dust, but it's just there, right? So hopefully we'll be able to incorporate this into some committee meetings in the future and use it as a guidance. And if we need to change it, then let's change it. Let's get it changed.
Well, I think, just to follow up on that, I think part of my concern is just as you had said, that in the next 10 to 15 years, we're going to see additional challenges. And so I think that we as county government are guilty of operating in silos, right? And so it's of concern to me that committee-wise, that we are aware of these pieces, and it may behoove us to pull some of those pieces out. It may not seem always very obvious to us if you're sitting in XYZ committee versus another ABC committee, but this could be a document that we say, oh, we should pull that out because it gives us a more comprehensive perspective. So, and I don't know how you implement that operationally, but it would be good to have that discussion perhaps once we get through the adoption.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point.
Any more questions? And just before we move on, I would just like to recognize Scott Allen back here from the West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission, who did tremendous amount of work on this.
Yeah, and Chris Strait is here as well. And I apologize.
Sorry, I didn't see.
Yeah, hiding in the shadows. My eyes aren't too good in the darkness. But Chris Strait with Central Regional Planning was the entity that really helped us guide this through the entire process and kept us all on track. So,
I didn't notice him behind the head. He was the one we were talking to, but yeah, we did contract with him and a lot of community interactions. It was just a tremendous amount of work to pull this together. So we appreciate that. Thank you. On to item 7, ordinance 4-26, ordinance to amend chapter 3 of the Chippewa County Code of Ordinances regarding records retention. First reading. This is the pinnacle of excitement.
Last one, I think.
Probably just as much work, though.
So this is the first reading of the ordinance to amend Chapter 3 regarding records retention. Chapter 3 is Chippewa County's record retention ordinance that sets the minimum period of time that a record must be retained by county departments before it can be destroyed. The Wisconsin Public Records Board has a series of general retention schedules that set the minimum retention period for most records retained by county governments. The last time we updated our records retention schedule was back in 2014. So again, it's been over a decade since we updated our retention schedule. So our current schedule is out of date. So this ordinance would update Chapter 3 to be in conformity with the Public Records Board's general retention schedules. The updated ordinance would also include references to the specific document series within the retention schedules. So it's going to be significantly easier in the future to go back and look to see what changes were made by the Public Records Board as it stood when we started looking to amend this. The authority column was essentially blank for the vast majority of these documents. We had to go in and find where these specific records the numbers came from. Now that we are putting in the actual record series in that authority column, we'll just be able to go in and look at that number to see whether it was changed, removed wholesale, or something else. So that is this ordinance.
Any questions or comments for Brady? A lot of exciting things to look through there to keep up. Thank you. There's a lot of research.
I think we had one.
Sorry. Oh, Supervisor Gary, sorry.
So, reading through it, I couldn't see that it specified how these records need to be retained. Is that our option, or?
It doesn't, right. I mean, the board doesn't really give a recommendation for how the records must be retained. They just have to be available if someone were to request the document. So I think most of them are either electronically stored, or there are some that are still kept in a paper copy, but there's no specification for how they have to be stored, just that they're not completely destroyed.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. On to item 10, County Administrator Appointments. County Administrator Appointment, Child Support Director, Shannon Householder.
This is the first test of an appointment, is to sit through the whole meeting until we get to the appointment. As some of you are probably aware, our longtime child support director, Dee Shervy, is retiring, and we've gone through the recruitment process to find our next child support director, and I'm happy to put forward the appointment of Shannon Householder for your confirmation. She has a great background. She's a U.S. Navy veteran, variety of past experience, but will be coming to us from the Eau Claire County Child Support Office. So we expect her to be a good fit in Chippewa County.
Any questions? Need a motion and a second then to approve?
Lots will make a motion.
Okay, we have
I think both are in lots, is what I heard, so that's what we're doing.
the two of them, whichever was first. Do we have a motion and a second? Any more discussion? And we'll vote to approve. And is approved. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I think we usually give her a couple minutes to introduce herself if she wants.
Sure. We don't have the 5-minute timer, so.
So as you guys heard, I am Shannon Householder. I am from Eau Claire County Child Support currently. I am a specialist there right now. I'm very excited to be moving into this position. I did grow up in Pepin County, Dunn County area, so I am from here, but I have been kind of all over the world with the Navy. I was also a spouse to an Army veteran too, so I also traveled multiple places there. I am a mom. I love everything community-based here in all of the west side of Wisconsin. I do attend Rockfest pretty frequently. My dad was head of security at one point there when I was a kid, so I do like all of the activities here, and I look forward to growing with this community and seeing what we can do.
Again, item 11, agendas for future consideration. Let us know. And we'll move on to item 12.
Erickson will make a motion to adjourn.
Kelly seconds.
Second to adjourn. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you for